In the 80s, Anthrax was on the top of the world. They were considered to be part of the big four of thrash metal, along with Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. They had many popular albums like Among the Living, this one right here, State of Euphoria. They were a staple on the Headbangers Ball. They had plenty of arena shows. They were either headlining or supporting a bigger artist. For example, Ozzy Osbourne. They appeared on the TV show Married with Children in 1992. But things were not going well all the time. They had some problems with the singer Joey Belladonna. These problems when they started recording this album here, Persistence of Time, and the band was going through lots of problems. One of the reasons like this album here was a lot darker than some of the other ones. Before this, the band has always had kind of like a fun vibe to them. So as I was saying, right after that appearance with on Married with Children, Joey Belladonna was fired from Anthrax over creative and stylistic differences. They actually auditioned a few other vocalists, including Mark Osageda from Death Angel and Spike Xavier from Mind Over Four. But the person who got the job was John Bush from Armored Saint. He was actually considered to be a replacement for Joey Belladonna years earlier because they were having problems with Joey and drug and alcohol abuse. But the product of all of this is this album right here, The Sound of White Noise, the subject matter of today's video. This was one of my anniversary reviews that I wanted to do in May, but I didn't get a chance. It's an album that I've always enjoyed, despite change in sound. So The Sound of White Noise is the 6th studio album by Anthrax. It was released in May of 1993 through Elektra Records. Its first album that featured John Bush. He replaced Joey Belladonna in 1992, and the last album with lead guitarist Dan. The album had more of an alternative metal sound, compared to the 3 previous albums, which are more thrash. It was produced by Dave Jerden. He also worked with Alice in Chains and Jane's Addiction, so you can see that influence there. Some of the songs were inspired by the TV series Twin Peaks, for example, Black Lodge, and that has the keyboardist. His name is Angelo Badalamenti. Hope I pronounced that right. And the album has singles Only Room for One More, Black Lodge, and High Pro Glo. Received positive reviews from critics and fans and reached number 7 on the Billboard 200 chart. The critics had mixed opinions about The Sound of White Noise. Some praised the album for its melodic and alternative metal sound, and they praised John Bush's vocal performance. Others criticized the album for being too mainstream or grunge-influenced, or lacking the thrash metal energy of Anthrax's previous albums. So the album received a rating of 4 out of 5 from AllMusic, 3 out of 5 from Rolling Stone, and Encyclopedia Metallum. There were mixed reviews. For example, one of them was like 44%, but I'll read some excerpts from some critics right now. So Dave Connolly from AllMusic, he says, surprisingly melodic, but predictably pummeling, Sound of White Noise is relentless. Stephen Dalton from Classic Rock. Sound of White Noise is a flawed but interesting effort worth rediscovering, but Stomp 442 can be safely forgotten. And user ADN154 from Encyclopedia Metallum. Sound of White Noise is, according to some, when Anthrax matured. I disagree. This album is when Anthrax lost their identity and became a generic grunge band. I disagree with that one. I mean, well, maybe on their other albums like Stomp 442 and Volume 8. This one, I don't think it's grunge. I think it's more like thrash, alternative, and groove. I find it closer to a band like Pantera. But let's talk about the songs. Opening track, Potter's Field. This intro literally sets up the album with The Sound of White Noise. So John Bush has some great vocal performance in this one. I really like the drums on this track and throughout the whole album. I mean, this is a good like drummers album, and this song is good. Lots of machine gun riffing. Only was one of the singles. This one had more of a full sound opposed to that thrash. It was catchy, has a memorable chorus. It's a sing-alongable type of song. The vocals are good. I like the main guitar riffs, and it's just a catchy song. Room for One More is one of the better songs, has a very menacing drum beat and a faster paced guitar riff. These continue with riffs that reminded me of kind of Tool a little bit, but it was a catchy song, and the chorus is memorable, and the bass guitar can be heard very well. Package Rebellion is pretty cool, and more of a slow building intro, kind of went into a drum beat, kind of built up, followed by some groove metal style guitar riffs. They use those like guitar harmonics. It was a slower paced song with some chugging guitars, and the drumming was very good. High Pro Glo was a cool song. The guitar riff had an interesting time signature in the intro. Then the song had more of a traditional structure. John Bush used different vocal styles, and the song had elements of thrash and their new style of metal. The drumming was very good, especially if you listen to the song with headphones. It's a really good song. Invisible, that's more of a groove metal type of sound. I thought of the band Machine Head. They had a distinct guitar tone, and it sounded kind of like traditional thrash, but the guitar riffs were very good. They had this like robotic feel to them, and they used like the phase shifter guitar effects and different drum beats. So I like this one. 1,000 Points of Hate. This one is pretty cool. I think they kind of slowed it down a little bit with some Black Sabbath style guitar riffs and psychedelic rocks mixed with groove metal. Then there's Black Lodge. This was a really great song. It was inspired by the TV show Twin Peaks. That was a very trippy show. It came out in the early 90s, and I think Netflix did a remake later on. But it's a different type of song. It's slow, atmospheric, having different guitar effects, like echo effects, clean guitar tones. They had a music video for this one, and some cool harmonized guitar parts as well. The next one is like this chemical name, but I think it stands for sodium pentothal. They mentioned that in the lyrics, so that's pretty what I think it's called, and it's a cool song. Not much else to say about it. Then Burst, that's more like a faster paced song. I like the bass line and the drums in this one. Scott Ian does some background vocals, and one of the heavier songs, and maybe closer to like a thrash type of sound, but they do some like Rage Against the Machine style, like guitar fills. You can hear that like Tom Morello influence in some of the parts of the song, but it was not too bad. And the final song, This Is Not an Exit, one of my favorites, has those chunky palm muted guitar riffs, a slower pace than some of the other songs. And I like how the song is a mix of styles, with a mix of classic Anthrax with some groove metal. Similar to Pantera, it was a great closing track. I bought this album when it came out in 1993. This is my original copy. I don't still have the plastic box. You know, that one broke, but I still have the original CD here, and this is a CD inside. But you know, it was 1993. Back then, I was mostly listening to grunge. Anthrax was still one of the metal bands I would always buy their albums when they came out. But as the year passed, I lost touch with Anthrax. I remember when the next album, Stomp 242, came out. I never bought that album. I just lost touch with the band for many years after that. Then I remember that their name was like brought up in the news around 2001 when Anthrax attacks took place right after 9/11, and I was like living in New York at the time. But at that time, I didn't really pay much attention until years later when Joey Belladonna returned to the band. So this album, The Sound of White Noise, is by far my favorite of the John Bush era Anthrax albums. So let me know what you think of this album. How would you rank it? Would you rank it as high as some of the Belladonna albums? Comment, let me know. Please like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. And here's another video right here. It's about Anthrax, so check it out if you have time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.